Okay. Dick Poofall,
Here.
Mike Berlin, Gary Mertig,
Here.
Bill Metzinger,
Here.
Martin Vitek.
Here. Next, we need a motion to approve the agenda.
This is Supervisor Murdock. I'll make that motion.
Motion by Gary, second by Bill.
No, I didn't, not seconding it. I asked that salary discussion of the county board be placed on the agenda for this meeting, and I don't see it on there. So it was for discussion, and I won't second that motion because I feel that that was left off. I don't know how, or by you or whatever, but I wanted to discuss that because it's been brought up at the county board meeting 2 or 3 times now, where members have brought it up and they were concerned about what they do. To me, it don't make any difference what we get paid. But I would have liked to seen that discussed because it's a 2-year, when the election comes up, it's for a 2-year term, and it's too late to discuss it once the papers are being taken out. So I would have liked to have that addressed at the county board, or at least the executive committee discuss it.
Well, just to shed a little light on that, I discussed this with Dan a little bit. And we pretty much came to an agreement with the budget problems that we have. This is really a bad time to tell the taxpayers we're going to give ourselves a raise.
Well, the only thing is, I looked at it, I called the clerk's office, and the salary's been the same for over 30 years. And 40 some years ago, when Sue was here, she said it used to be $35, and they raised, so it's more than 30 years. And the only thing is, it was brought up by the county supervisors, and I'm on the executive committee, and I would have liked, I'm not saying I'm in favor of giving them a raise or not, but I would have liked to see it at least addressed by the executive committee and say, no, we decided this, but I think it should have been talked about.
Do we have a second on the motion to approve the agenda? Seconded by Mike. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
One opposed?
Yep, I'm opposed.
One opposed. Motion carries. Thank you. Public discussion, seeing no public here, we'll go on to,
Hold on, I think Carver, did you want to say something for public comment?
Yes, please. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I just wanted to talk briefly about a grant application that I'm working on for the Chequamegon Bay area. This is called the Workforce Innovation Grant. It is a very short timeline. This is ARPA money that is going to the state, and then regions can apply for them. AADC is going to be applying for a grant award that will focus on childcare throughout the Chequamegon Bay. We're talking the communities of Bad River, Ashland, Washburn, Bayfield, and Red Cliff, all 5 communities. This is going to be a pretty large grant, probably around $2.5 million, which will allow us to expand the providers we have and to be able to compensate folks that would agree to enter the childcare field and staff our facilities throughout these areas. It would also include expanding some of the infrastructure for some of these communities that have a child care center, but they're not big enough to handle all the children that they have a need for. The reason that I'm wanted to bring this up during your comments section today is that this application is due on Monday. I've got many, many partners that have signed up and have given me letters of commitment that I will include with my application. That includes Northland College, Northwood Tech, Bayfield School District, the Red Cliff Tribe, the Bad River Tribe. There's many on that list. Bayfield County has also given me a letter of commitment to partner with me and collaborate on addressing some of these issues. And if it's at all possible, I would love for Ashland County to also give me a letter of partnership. It would be something that I would need to get this week. I know you're not able to have a discussion with me during public comments, but I did want to bring it to your attention. And if there's any way that I can work with Dan or somebody else in one of your county departments to get that letter drafted, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Kim Lavasser, Lieutenant with the Ashland County Jail. This morning, I would like to talk about a couple of things. First off, and I know I've talked about this before, but thankfully we're doing the study next year, the employment study, because we are not getting anybody applying for our jobs. We have one full-time kitchen worker and one part-time kitchen worker. Our part-time kitchen staff only gets $12.65 an hour. And our full-time kitchen worker is over 60 years old. And it's really taken a toll on her. And we're really having a hard time. No one's applying. So I don't even know what to do other than, I mean, we're putting it in the paper and stuff like that, but what do you do when all we can offer is $12.65 an hour? It's crazy. When you can make more at McDonald's and Burger King. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, I just wanted to let everybody know the COVID situation. The COVID is still a huge issue around here. And I don't think people think it's as serious as it really is. The jail is quarantining for 7 days when people come to jail. We can't force inmates to get the COVID shot. Most people that come to jail aren't, people who are, yeah, hey, I'll go out and get a COVID shot. We offer that to them, but they don't want it. And the other day, my son's mother-in-law passed away from COVID. Right now, a coworker, his father is in the hospital on a ventilator with COVID. It's a huge issue. We have very limited space in the jail. And so I know that people are hearing a lot of, oh, they're not arresting people, they're not bringing people to jail that should be. And I just want everyone to know that we are accepting people that should be coming to jail. However, we have limited space. So I just want that to be known that we're doing the best we can at the jail right now, but COVID is still very big. It's a very bad problem right now. So that's really all I have to say, but if anybody has any questions, to please call the jail and ask, let me know.
$12 an hour, I think, is disgraceful when you can make more money than that at McDonald's. That's crazy.
Just a point, the new budget is raising the kitchen staff's wage to $15 an hour. So there will be no full-time permanent staff that are making less than $15 an hour. And the county board actually voted, or the finance committee it was, I think, both of them, actually both the board and the finance committee agreed that $15 an hour is the minimum wage for all county employees now, other than LTEs.
I will so move, Richard.
There's Marty Vitek. I'll second it.
I'm sorry, but nobody was using their mic, so we didn't hear anything.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Prove what?
The minutes.
Executive meeting minutes from October 1st.
Thank you.
I kind of overshot the runway on the speaker again.
And
So we
who
have a
was,
motion
Marty.
by Bill and a second by Marty
thank you.
to approve the October 1st executive meeting minutes. All in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you. ARPA funds purchases to date.
Okay, nothing has changed since the finance committee meeting when we last presented this. We spent about $110,000. That number does not include the hazard pay for employees, which will be going out on the next payroll. And it does not include the 360,000 that we defederalized for HHS expenses. We will be transferring that money later in the year. So you'll see that 360 added in December.
This is info only, right?
I'm sorry.
Information only?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It was just asked that we present this at every meeting. You're welcome.
As long as it's informational only, you would like us to take this home and go over it, or?
I believe the intent was people just wanted to be kept abreast of how much money we're spending.
Mhm.
That's all. And so at every meeting, we'll just give you the dollar amount of where we actually are and what we know what's coming up. Just so you know for future reference when you're deciding how to spend it and further it.
Okay, thank you. Number 6, Hudson Bay Dam update.
I got word that the town of Gordon cannot create the tax district on the lake unless they own the dam. And at this point, the town of Gordon does not want to own the dam. So the property owners on Spider Lake have offered the current offer from the property owners is to come in with a check for $32,000 to go into a joint account that the citizens would release funds on if the county were to take ownership of the dam. There would be no tax districts put into place, and the property owners assure us that they would be willing to donate $200 per year per parcel. There would be no strings attached to that, and we would have no way to collect the money. The town's people are hoping the county would take it in good faith and take ownership of the dam on their word that they would donate $200 a piece. So that's where they're at on their process. They still are refusing to form a lake district, which would eliminate all the issues.
The only problem I see with that is if there's ownerships that change, are the new owners going to go along with this? You know, are they going to say, hey, yeah, we're not going to do that, and it's going to fall apart?
Correct.
Because then the rest of them aren't going to say, well, if they're not paying, I'm not paying.
Correct. And without the special district in place, you know, if we had to do a replacement or, you know, some high dollar expense, we would have no way of assessing through that tax district for those improvements or replacements.
Yeah, my question is, we're still questioning whether we own the dam.
Correct.
So I think at this point, until the ownership of the dam is legally bound, I don't think the county takes any position.
Well, they were asking, obviously the county could take a position of ownership and take the citizens at their word. I would just obviously discourage that as a route of taking ownership. You have no guarantees, no financial guarantees. You'd be, you know, violating your fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers of the county. So I don't know if you guys have a recommendation. My continued recommendation was, since they're not interested in pursuing ownership at this point, you know, my recommendation is they need to pursue their lake district. with the Lake District, they can have their tax districts and they could own the dam and tax for it.
I agree.
So Josh, what is your recommendation? I'm having a little bit of a problem hearing you.
Well, my recommendation would to not accept the proposal from the property owners on the lake. To me, not having a tax district and taking people at face value that they're going to contribute money every year is pretty risky to the taxpayers of the county. Their best path is still going to be a lake district, which they don't want to form. So if they don't want to form the lake district and take ownership into their own hands, I mean, that says a lot too. You know, they're concerned, but they're not concerned enough to preserve their ownership stake. So my suggestion is that we continue to do nothing on this, and my recommendation is to continue as we are, not doing anything on the issue.
Okay.
Do you need a motion for that?
I don't, if the only way we would have needed an action on this is if you guys had, change your heart and wanted to go back to the county board and say, let's own this thing, which, I obviously discourage at this point. So.
Any more discussion? So we don't need a motion for this. We just won't do anything.
Correct.
Okay. We do that really well. Okay, we'll move on to number 7, finalize health insurance rates for 2022.
Okay, a couple meetings ago, the executive committee approved option 4 for the health plans. The final rates are here that employees would pay. And I would ask that you approve this because just to go along with your previous approval. Yes, sir.
I believe the finance committee approved it, not us.
No, the handbook says the executive committee approves it.
Okay.
Page 13 of the
What did
handbook.
they do for the people that did not get a COVID shot?
We have to create a wellness plan first. We're in the process of working on that right now with M3. In fact, they'll be here next week for a meeting. So we will create the wellness plan and then we can revisit the COVID issue or not.
Is that going to be in effect before the next county board meeting?
No, we're not. But as far as COVID shots go, I mean, I do believe that in the very near future, county employees will be required to get one under rules by the DSPS. The OSHA has already put out their preliminary rules. Once they're published in the Federal Register, they will be official for OSHA. And then as a state organization, we're covered by the Department of Professional Services.
Does that include, like on a family plan, their
No.
dependents that are?
No, it doesn't. And just means the employee themselves.
Okay.
But the state will mandate that all organizations, between the federal government and the state, they'll mandate that all organizations of more than 100 people are required to have COVID shots. So that doesn't include the employees. However, like I said, we need a wellness plan to do that. And we are working on creating a wellness plan for, among other things, just something we need to have in the health program anyhow. So, and that'll encourage employees to do other things like get the regular flu shot, but also to be better physically fit. And so.
What is the big change in health insurance plan, the rates? What did they go up from? Do you have that?
Well, the new rate for Josh, do you know what you're paying now for health insurance? Yeah, and the rate is about the same, $200. So the way the numbers worked out, we're able to improve the health insurance liquidity, and the rates are going to be, I think it's $196 is how we figured it out.
But the deductible increased?
The deductible went to 2,000 and 4,000. And it's 4,000 and 8,000 out of network. So if you stay in network, you pay 2,000 for a single, 4,000 for a family. And then it's 4,000 out of network and 8,000 for family. And the rates do not combine together. So if you go to some in network and some out network, your total deductible will be 4,000, 8,000. One of the things we'll work on next year is creating a better in-network system. We'll also be working on creating a pharmacy benefits manager to better control pharmaceutical costs. And we'll be creating parts that are more like your traditional commercial insurance for controlling expenses.
Dan, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Funding rate increase 22%.
Yes, that's
We give our employees a 2% increase and raise the
that's
health insurance covered by 22. How is that going to fit?
well, the insurance rates that the county employees are paying.
Yeah.
If you want me to be honest, they're incredibly low. There's very few places in the country where you're paying these kind of rates. In fact, in my own situation, my insurance payments are going to be less than half. So
You can read.
the benefit is extremely generous, and it's not costing the county that much more, and the employees are getting a great benefit still. I mean, the issue is, the system is going to be insolvent very soon. We're a couple huge claims away from having a real problem. Even with the stop loss, our stop loss is 65,000, and just think, one is 65, two is 130, and then, 3 is 100 and 200, and it just keeps going and going and going. And then we could easily amass that just by somebody having a heart attack, getting cancer, being hospitalized for COVID. So, we have to shore up the funding. Otherwise, the employees will end up paying much, much, much more for a different policy.
So for a family plan now, the new rate will be $196
Yeah, for the employees portion, yes.
for the employees portion.
Yes.
What was it before?
It wasn't much more. It was around the same price.
So it's real close to the same amount?
Yeah, in essence, we're paying the same coverage as less.
Higher deductibles.
Yeah.
I believe they also eliminated dental. There's no dental that's one that the spouse is going to pay.
Yeah, I believe so.
That's being removed from.
Yeah, the choice was to do increases in premiums and increases in deductibles. And the decision was made not to do both, thinking it was too hard for everybody on the employees to hit them with both right away. So this year we went with a deductible increase. And then next year there will be more of a premium increase.
This has to be taken before the county board?
No, executive committee is the last spot.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we adopt the new plan as presented.
It's just clarification, option 4, is that,
Yeah, option 4 was already approved, and now we have the actual rates here.
okay.
So we're just asking for you to continue that approval that you've already done.
For option 4 then?
Yeah.
Is what I'm making the motion for.
This is Supervisor Murdock, I'll second.
All right, we have a motion on the table by Bill Metzinger to approve the new rates, and the second by Gary Murray. Any more discussion? I'm having kind of a hard time approving the 22% increase. And I see the figures here that they don't add up anymore. No alternative to that, right?
Well, Mr. Pufall, yeah, you could, instead of raising the deductible, you could raise the premium. And what we did here was we just raised the deductible instead of
Okay.
raising the premiums.
Okay,
Next year, this committee will consider raising premiums also. And I don't know if that'll be your decision to make, whether you think that's warranted based on the current funding level or not.
okay. All right, any more discussion? We have a motion and a second on the table to approve the new health insurance rates. All those in favor say aye. You want
Aye.
to do a roll call on this? Probably should do a roll call.
Dick Pufall,
Yes.
Mike Berlin,
Yes.
Gary Mertig,
Yes.
Bill Metzinger,
Yes.
Martin Vitek,
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Number 8, final review of the 2022 budget and debt levy, informational only.
Okay, you have this, what you have in front of you is the budget as approved by the Finance Committee last week. Because the Finance Committee is the last stop before the county board, this is just information. If you see something on here that you don't like, you're allowed, at this county board meeting on November 9th, you can bring up an amendment to change that. But we wanted to present it to you because more people seeing it is the better thing. I can't answer any questions, although I'll give Kathy my copy.
Thank you. To ask questions.
You go ahead.
I think you and I talked last week about the 35,000 for the forestry for tourism.
Yes, $35,000 for the Chamber of Commerce is still in the budget, and Ashland Area Development Corporation has 50,000.
Okay, good.
So both are funded fully.
And then the county fair, that one, they increased by 10,000 this year.
The county fair budget is 20,000, I believe. Oh, you have to turn your mic on.
I'm happy with that.
Okay.
I see what we're giving to Northwest Regional went down $500. Is that right?
I believe so.
Hmm?
I don't have it in front of me, but if that's what you're seeing, yes, that's correct. It's probably because our dues went down.
Pardon me?
It's probably because our dues went down.
Well, when they did their funding request, this has got a big bearing on how they do their business. Because if all the other entities did this, they'd have a deficit. I don't know if that's a good idea or not.
I can check on what our actual dues are for Northwest Regional Planning again. And if the number is different, then I'll let you know at the county board and you can change that number then.
Well, I think I don't have those papers in front of me, but I think their rate that they quote all the participating counties, I don't think that ours changed.
I'll
So if we
double
were
check that for you.
paying, Giving them $12,000 last year, I think it'd be the same.
Like I said, I will check the newest figure for you. And if it's different, we can change it at the county board meeting.
Okay. Any questions, you guys? Bill?
What do they actually pay the county supervisors totally for the year? Is that on this budget someplace that the county board's salary and mileage?
Yeah, there is a line item. Can you hold on a second, please?
Well, I want to address that though,
Yeah, you
because
might need that.
Because you could have a figure based on past history, but not every supervisor claims per diems at each meeting. Mileage is different. But, and I'll use myself as an example. If you go back the last 3 or 4 years, I have not collected per diems. This year's a little different, but in the prior 2 years, I didn't collect per diems for 70–80% of the meetings, only mileage. That was my choice. So those numbers that you give would show a total expenditure for the county board, but it may not reflect an individual board member. It's just a number. So that number could actually be higher if all supervisors were charging per diems. And I'm sorry, but I've gone down this road before. I didn't get elected for a per diem.
But where is that?
It's
figure?
on the first page. If
First
you-
page?
If you look above the blue,
It says county board.
yep. So that would be for all the county board expenses. That'd be for the pay for individual members, the pay for committees, meetings, the pay for per diems.
So why is there a minus 1,874?
The budget is just a little bit less than the previous year. Oh, thank you.
So do we save money being on Zoom and have less mileage?
Well, based on previous history that we weren't spending the whole amount. So we adjusted the budget. Now that amount is subject to change. I mean, obviously if we have more meetings, it's going to cost more. If we have less meetings, it's going to cost less. I mean, it really is a guess based on previous history.
But just, you are right. If a board member doesn't come to a meeting, doesn't charge mileage, you would have a less expense. So in the last year, we certainly would have been less because.
Well, especially if it's somebody like you coming from Butternut, if you were on Zoom, because, that's at least 100 miles round trip at least. So that's kind of what I'm getting at. How can you
Right.
justify it?
And Zoom would save on per diems for sure.
Now, I know it's not on the agenda, and I was told that they decided not to put it on the agenda about salaries. But
I'll put it on the county board agenda.
yeah, but to me, if the executive committee isn't in favor of it, it doesn't need to go to the full county board because we're the committee that should decide this, whether you're in favor of it or not. So
Well-
if we're not in favor of it, it doesn't go to the county board.
The other option is, we can take this up at a future executive committee meeting. It doesn't have to be passed until March.
Yeah, but when you take out nomination papers, you're taking it out for this salary for so many years. Correct?
Well, the statute is you just have to pass it before the next term starts.
Okay.
So we can technically pass it up until the election.
Now, like I say, I'm not one way or another in favor of changing it or not, but I was approached to bring it to the executive committee. And I'm on the executive committee and someone makes a request, then I feel I have to bring it up. But I'm not saying I'm in favor of it or opposed to it. I just think it should be discussed. So if we want to put that on a future agenda or you want to do something today, it's up to the board what they want to do.
Bill, you've mentioned a couple of times that you're not interested in upping the rate
I said I
personally.
haven't made my mind up one way or another.
Okay. I would like to see the people who approached you come forward.
Well, they're not on, well, Kathy's right here. Kathy mentioned it. John Weiner mentioned it at the county board meeting. He brought it up 2 or 3 times now at the county board meeting.
Well,
And then he said, how do you get this discussed? How do you go about getting it discussed? And I said, well, I had talked to him and I said, it's not the place to bring it up at the county board meeting. It's to go to a committee first, to the executive committee. So that's basically what I told him. I said, well, I can bring it up at the executive committee.
Well, if you want it on a future agenda, that's fine with me. We got time to do that?
We can do that, yeah. You can pass it between anyone now and the election.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Cooper, regarding your question for the regional planning, the letter we have here states that our new.
Dan, can you turn your mic on?
I have a letter from regional planning here stating our rates for next year are 11,843, which is what's in the budget. And I'll be happy to show that to you.
So the levy went down?
Yeah, they lowered it by, was it $500? $501.
One other thing on here, Dan, and I really didn't discuss this in depth with you, but I had brought you the request from the Veteran Services Officer that we tried to push through before for exemplary service for Lori in that office. And I don't know if you've given that any thought or whatever, but if you read the proposal and the work that she did, the work that she did not have to do, the work that she did as a part-time employee, just threw herself under the bus and worked full-time until we had somebody.
Right.
I'm familiar with that whole situation because I was on the board when we got rid of the other Veteran Services Officer. And her dedication to the veterans, you can't put a price on that. What she did in that period of time when there was no officer, we have exemplary employees like that. I think we have to treat them right. We have to reward them. And this isn't something that Jeff says, you have to do this. Nobody came in and said, you have to do this. She did this. She just took it upon herself to take care of the veterans. And I think that that's something that should be considered. I don't know how you feel about it, Dan, and I don't want to put you on the spot in front of this committee, but I see we're doing a budget. Oh, this is the time to do it. That's a one-time thing.
Right. And I think at the county board meeting is the appropriate time to make any changes. So I would offer that up as an amendment to the budget at the next meeting.
Okay.
If you could give me a copy of that letter back, I'll make sure that there's a copy for every county board supervisor to read.
I don't think that should be done at a county board meeting because there's how many other people that would want to raise also. And so I think this committee, if we're going to make a recommendation, we should make the recommendation. But otherwise, when it comes to the county board meeting, we're going to have 10, 15 different people saying, I deserve a raise, or now you're going to give this person a raise and you're giving this person a raise. I know how much time she put in and stuff that she didn't have to do.
Yeah.
I realize that. I'm not saying she didn't, but what I'm just saying, if you start picking and choosing who you're going to give a raise to, then you're going to have everybody under the sun wanting a raise, saying, I deserve it. I did more than this. I did this and that. So you've got to be very careful what you do. Like I say, I really, for I don't know how many months, we never had a veteran service officer. She did all the work.
I know.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. But, you know, I just say we have to be careful.
Well, on that note, Bill, how many other people did what she did? You can say, well, yeah, she got this percentage of raise. I want this percent. What did you do to warrant that? So everybody didn't do what she did.
Well,
This is an exemption.
I can give you an example. The clerk of courts, she has been register and probate. Okay, at the last meeting, she wanted $5,000 more for being appointed register and probate. And because she was appointed by the judge. So she went ahead and done how much more stuff that she normally wouldn't have had to do. So she can use that as a reasoning, saying, well, now I'm the register and probate and I got nothing, you know, and look how much more work I did. You see what I'm saying? And then everybody goes down the road and says the same thing. You know, when I got hired, I didn't do this. Now I'm doing this now. So we're doing a salary thing, a salary study for $40,000, correct? So, you know, I'm not saying but maybe we should take some of this COVID money and say that this, you know, she will get $500. Maybe if the committee felt strongly enough, maybe we could take $1,000 or something out of the COVID money and say, due to that, we did not have a service officer, you know. But to bring it up at the county board meeting, we're gonna have a snowball effect. Does anybody agree with me or no?
Well, Bill, as far as the clerk of courts, I think didn't we give her that money?
The register and probate was awarded $5,000 for only the probate position. If she no longer does the probate position, she doesn't get the $5,000. And the concern there was that we didn't want to raise the salary of an elected office. So there was a very clear distinction made between this is only for the probate position. And as I said, if she ceases doing the probate position, she doesn't get the money. So, so she is getting that 5,000.
Well, no, do you want to make a motion to the effect that we would approve the one-time payment?
You can make a recommendation to the county board.
Pardon?
You can make a recommendation to the county
Yeah.
board.
That's what I mean.
Information though, this is Supervisor Murdock. I would like to see salaries and stuff, but I agree with Bill. You open this can of worms, we ain't gonna closing it back up. Because if Bill and I are county employees, which both of us were, and Bill gets a raise, I'm coming after this committee or the county board and saying, wait a second, I know they did a bang up job and stuff, but so did I. I showed up to work, I was here. I agree with Bill. We could be into a world of everybody coming after us again and saying, I mean, we've already heard it from the sheriff's department and they make a good argument, the jailers. They're in a terrible situation. So if we give it to one, we have to give it to look at everybody. But I would love to see, I still think the wage study that we're doing is where we're going to wind up, because that's going to identify the current problems. And then if you have money, I think I agree with Bill. If you open this up for one, you're going to have everybody asking for it, and rightfully so.
Yeah, you know, this is a Supervisor Metzinger. You know, before the emergency management used to take care of the 911 numbering. Now Josh is doing it, correct? Now, did anybody say, well, Josh, you're doing that, now you're going to get paid so much more? Did anybody say that to you? No. Do you see what I'm saying? He took on all that responsibility. And there's probably, you put the signs up too? Yeah. Okay, the highway department used to put the signs up. Now Josh is doing it. You see what I'm saying? You've got all, you know, and I know in my old office there, the individual is working on computer maps. I never did that before. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of people took on more responsibility and duties, and then other people lost that because somebody was doing the emergency management before.
Dorothy King.
Yeah. Now, we didn't take a cut. We didn't cut her salary. She's asking for more money, you know, and here Josh is doing this. So, you know, that's, you know, I'm saying that emergency management isn't doing it, but Josh is doing it. He's not getting any more compensation. That wasn't on your original application for the zoning administrator, correct?
Correct.
So what do you do in a situation like that? Now, I have no clue what Josh makes, You know, but I'm just saying, he's taken on how much more responsibility. And so I guess that's where I sit. If I would like to see this, this wage study report. I agree 100% with what you're saying, Richard, 100%.
But.
No
you're throwing
buts.
in a but.
Well, I'm just saying what we have to then look at everybody else.
Well, Bill, this is kind of like a two-way street here. You're telling us that we can't reward people for exemplary service, doing things out of the ordinary. And yet you're advocating for a raise for the county board supervisors who are doing nothing
No,
above and beyond.
no. What I was bringing up is that it should be discussed, discussion only. Because if there was a request from county board members to look into the salary, I think it's important to discuss it. I never said I was in favor of it.
Well, you're kind of hinting.
No, I said it needs to be discussed by the executive committee, and that's what I said. Now, am I in favor of it? I don't know. I probably will not run for county board again. You know, but that I have to make that decision down the road. But the only thing is, if someone asks something, it should be at least looked into. And then to see what the rest of the committee says. If 4 out of the 5 say no, we can't do it now, then that's fine. That's great. At least we brought it up and discussed it.
As long as we're on this subject, John is here. Would you like to speak to that issue of Lori's bonus money? I would appreciate it if you would just shed a little light on it. I'm probably not doing it justice. Sit at one of the microphones.
And put his mic on for him too.
So, good morning. I'm John Itzen. I'm the Veteran Service Officer. I apologize for being late. I had some veterans come in the office this morning, so I missed the beginning of the meeting. And so I'm coming into this a little bit late without getting the previous discussion. But in, referencing the letter that I had written, recommending a bonus or incentive, or however you want to classify that pay for Lori Lundquist. The letter spells out pretty clearly, I think, the job that she did immediately following the relief of my predecessor for that 4.5 months or so before I started my job. And I understand there's resistance to giving incentives or bonuses for doing extra work that might be a little bit outside the scope of your normal job. There is a bit of a precedence that's happened since that time, if I remember correctly, because since COVID started, I believe there was a bonus or an incentive pay that was given to our public health administrator for the job that she did, working those long extra hours in handling that crisis. The scope of what Lori did working for the veterans, she is a part-time employee that during that time started working on her own full-time and doing the job of 2 people. So she was doing her job as well as the job of the Veteran Service Officer, which she was technically not even fully qualified to cover because she was not yet accredited with the Wisconsin Department of Veterans Affairs. Since I've started, she has gone to that extra training and gotten herself accredited, but at that time she did not hold that accreditation, and yet she was still doing the job and doing it well enough that she covered a 4-fold increase in business for that 4 months that she worked by herself. And if that doesn't deserve some kind of recognition, I don't know what does. You've shown that you're willing to give a bonus to the public health staff because of the job that she did. Why can't you do it for Lori? If it's a matter of cost funding, we do have the grant money that's available that my office brings in every year, which we have some surplus left over. We can authorize it from there. There's a portion of that bill which is written up, which states it can be used for salary supplementation. So we can award her an incentive without any cost to the county itself. It would not come out of the general fund. It could come out of my own office funds.
That's a good idea, Don. Just a little background, and I'm sorry that I don't have the paperwork with me. He's copied them for me twice, and I don't have it here. But what I'd like to say is that at some point in time, I wish we would take a good long look at that position that she's in. Because before Lori took that job, it was a full-time job. We had a full-time assistant. And the way I understand it is that when the assistant had been there a long time, and when she got up in age, she didn't want to work full-time anymore, so they moved it back to a part-time position. I don't believe that that is doing the office justice. And I think at some point in time, we should look at that and possibly move it back to a full-time position. Marty.
This is Marty Vitek. I look at this not so much as a incentive or a bonus, but rather a back pay. She worked basically overtime for her regular position. So I think that looking at it as she had already earned that pay, that we should probably do something that benefit her. Because we saved, for one thing, we saved the cost of a administrator.
Yeah. Yeah, you're paying one wage.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you know, you brought up a good point, Richard. But like I say, we can't just say it's a raise because you're doing more. But we could pay her the difference from what the veteran service officer was making, because we never had to pay that salary versus her and do that. Yeah, I think I know how hard she worked and how good she is to the veterans, is trying to help them. I know that. She goes up and beyond for sure. But I'm just saying, seeing we didn't have a full-time veterans office and we never paid the salary, we could pay the difference to her. And that would, you know, just because we never replaced them for 4.5 months, you said.
no,
I would be in favor of doing that, because she did take on a lot more responsibility, plus she did her own work.
I'd like to see us ask Dan to do a little in-depth review of this and then come back to us with a recommendation.
Sorry? What is the current cycle for your grant funding?
Can you guys turn on your mics?
When is your current cycle for the grant funding end?
The funding goes January to January.
All right, so there's an opportunity for the finance committee to yet do something.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
so now, John, what you're saying is that there's money out there that you can tap into that wouldn't cost the county anything, and she will be made whole for the work that she did. I talked to Heather about this damn near 2 years ago. And she said, well, she got paid for what she did. They maybe paid her 40 hours instead of 20 hours. That's the payment they're talking. There was no time and a half. I don't believe there was anything like that paid. I just have a hard time dismissing something like that. When you got somebody that steps forward and grabs the bull by the horns and does a better job than was being done before, I think we have to do something about that. Yeah,
I would like to make a motion to recommend to the Finance Committee that that Lori be paid the difference from what she was being paid based on what she was being paid based on the Veteran Service Officer salary. She be paid the difference and at least bring it up and find out how much it actually amounts to. But I would be in favor of doing that because she was acting as Veteran Service Officer
Right.
and doing her job. So I would say the difference in pay that she didn't get, that I would recommend to the Finance Committee that they look into it. And because I think that's where the money should come from, is the Finance Committee, correct? So I would like to make that motion that she be given for the time there was no Veteran Service Officer, her salary versus what the Veteran Service Officer's salary, the difference that she be paid.
I'll second that motion. Any more discussion? Mike?
So then Dan is going to take and do a research and come back to the finance committee with this issue?
Yeah,
Thank you.
If
I have
the
a question.
executive- If the Executive Committee is in favor of doing this, I made the motion, you second it. It's got to pass the Executive Committee. If it passes the Executive Committee, then it goes to the recommendation for the Finance Committee.
All right. Yeah, I know. Laura, go ahead.
I would caution on this, for creating a pattern. I know how much Lori does for that office, and I've been in there and talked with John and them before about just how great of a service that they provide for our veterans. But if we create a pattern of paying somebody who takes on extra jobs like that, if we create a pattern of them doing something without being approved, and then later offer them pay for it, how many other employees do we have that may do the same thing and then say, but this person, after they did that, they got paid halfway in between what, the Veteran Service Officer and their position was. So do we just have people start doing jobs and then come back and pay them? I mean, I like John's $500 idea, but it's a slippery slope when you start doing that. It didn't seem to be approved, and I get that. And is that when Jeff was there as administrator? I mean, was anybody talked to about this? Where we're trying to compare the court-appointed position that Sandy got. She got given the $5,000 of pay. That was an additional position put on her by another department head. So she was appointed by the court, to where this wasn't. Please exercise some thought over this.
Laura, this is John. The work that she did was approved by Jeff. And as evidence of that, I would submit the fact that she was paid for the 40, when she moved into starting to do 40 hours a week instead of her part-time job, she was compensated, as I brought up earlier, for the 40 hours that she worked, which means it was approved work.
Okay.
Marty, do you want to talk?
That's the point I was going to make as well. Someone someplace had to authorize it. Yeah.
Gary?
Yeah, I like a motion that says we're going to push this off to finance to work with Dan to figure it out. My caution here is kind of same as Laura's. I caution anyone saying Dan's going to be gone next week and Gary's going to fill in and I'm going to make his wages. I am not qualified to make his wages. So I caution, let the finance committee and Dan work this out as to what's an appropriate amount of money that she should be awarded. I have no problem with awarding somebody for extra work. I caution paying people a salary of somebody else when we don't know what really was done until the finance and Dan works it out and then brings it back to the full county board. Then we'll have a better idea where that money should be.
What was your motion, Bill?
I make a motion that we if this is passed by the executive committee, that the motion is that Lori be paid for the 4.5 months that we had no veteran service officer. She'd be paid veteran service officer wages minus what she got paid. The difference. Find out the figure and bring that, if the committee passes it, recommend it to the finance committee because they're the ones that control the money. But I just want to, if the executive committee approves it, we know that we're in favor of it, doing it.
Mike,
It needs to be understood that this is at no cost to the county. This is a programmatic cost. Am I correct, John? So therefore, it would be absorbed. If there was an administrator at that time, those wages would have been expended on an administrator. However, there was not an administrator and they had an assistant step up and do the job. In your motion is suggesting that that administrator earn those wages or be compensated those wages in lieu of.
Correct.
Thank you.
Marty.
The one question I would have with that, and John brought this out, is that she didn't have the technical qualifications for the job of veterans officer. So I think we need to keep that in mind and have some wiggle room in setting the rate.
All right, any more discussion? We have a motion and a second on the table. Any more discussion?
We should probably have a roll call vote, please.
Okay, Lori, could we have a roll call vote on approving the one-time wage payment to Lori?
For the recommendation to the finance committee.
Pardon me?
It's a recommendation to the finance
Yeah,
committee, correct?
recommendation. Right,
Okay, Dick Pufall,
yes.
Mike Berlin,
Yes.
Gary Mertig,
Yes.
Bill Metzinger,
Yes.
Marty Vitek,
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. Any more discussion on anything on the budget?
I just would like to answer or talk with Gary Mertig, Bill Metzinger, excuse me, Bill. When we're talking about, should we raise the rate for the county board supervisors? In 1992, I was on the county board and we received $35 a month for a meeting. Now here we are at 2021 and we have $50 a month for a meeting. And you have given the county board supervisors a lot more responsibility than you ever have. Now we have internet. There's a lot more to the supervisor's role than it used to be. And we've given all these wonderful employees from the county raises periodically through the years, but the county board supervisors have received zero amount of money for the past 25 years. I think they are more deserving of some kind of a month or a per diem wage. Thank you.
We're going to address this issue at a separate meeting or a meeting in March. That's what we decided upon. So I don't know if you heard that part. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. And as long as we have the meeting to the executive, and if the executive committee approves it, then it'll go to the full county board before the next election.
Just for clarification, I thought there was a rule that it had to be done before you did your budget in November. Not,
No, it has to be before the next term of office starts.
I didn't hear you, Dan.
It has to be before the next term of office starts.
Okay,
Just a point of information. You guys go ahead and gals and do it in March, right before the election, and see what that does.
I'd just like to interject something too. Bayfield County pays their board members make $50 a meeting for up to 4 hours. So from an employee standpoint, most of the employees here, and you're going to see when you get your wage study back, our employees are making 10 to 25% less in Bayfield County. But you guys get a raise, so you're going to be making more. From an employee standpoint, we feel that you guys should be making 10 to 20% less than surrounding counties, just like our wages dictate. You don't have the money to pay your employees a prevailing wage to other counties, but you want to be above what your surrounding counties pay. That's not going to sit well with your employees or your taxpayers.
Well, I think that's right. That's why we didn't bring it up and discuss it before. I talked to Dan about this, and the timing on this is not good. But the difference is, Josh, is that, like Kathy said, this hadn't been raised in 30 years. And if you look at the rate of what other county board members are being paid around us, we're not overpaid by any stretch of the imagination. I sympathize with people like Gary and John that come from 20, 30 miles out. You add so much more onto your meeting day for the same amount of money. And if anything should be done, I think we should, at some point in time, we should take a look at that, because you know, your expenses and your time involved for a $50 meeting is crazy.
But, and I'll save my thunder for when this comes back, but I will tell everyone here, I am against a per diem increase. It's not a good idea with the budget we have. We're gonna raise the levy, 33-cent increase without the debt levy. And to go to the taxpayers right now and say, hey, you know, we're struggling with everything, cost of health insurance and everything else. And then the county board wants money. I didn't get on this county board or any other board I served for the money. As I said in the past, there's a couple of years when you can go back and ask the county clerk's office. I didn't take per diems for months. That's not why I serve. I understand the cost of everything, but I'll save that thunder for later. But if somebody got elected for the per diem, they're in it for the wrong reason. I got on to serve the taxpayers of my district, and that's just me. Thanks.
That's precisely why we didn't put it on the agenda. Okay, any more discussion on the budget?
Does this get published in the paper yet, or when will the budget, does it get published in the paper?
The budget will be published in the paper 15 days before the
The
November,
county board meeting?
before the county board meeting, yeah.
Okay.
And it will be published twice. And we're publishing it in all 3 newspapers,
All the papers?
all 3. Just as we are for the redistricting. Well, the redistricting goes out first because that's a type 3 notice.
Okay, moving right along, we'll go to number 9, proclamation for CDBG grant.
This is just a formality that Highway Department needs to get the grant.
Microphone, please.
Oh, sorry. This is a formality that the Highway Department needs to close out the grant.
Question, do we just need a motion to approve Dick signing that?
Yeah, and I'm going to put it in front of the county board too,
Okay.
just so it goes to the committee and then to the board.
The Supervisor Murdick makes that motion.
Marty VTech, I'll second it.
I can't hear him. I don't need a prompt here. Okay,
Gary, is your motion to approve?
Having Dick sign that that CDBG grant.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You're welcome. And-
actually, you know what? And it does actually, now I remember, it doesn't even need to go to the county board. It just needs approval here.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion to approve. The proclamation for the CDB grant. Do we have a section on it? Marty seconded it. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you. Redistricting, final review.
Okay, well, we don't have a final review. As sure as everybody's read in the newspaper, the city of Ashland decided to go from 11 aldermanic seats, aldermanic districts, I want to make that point clear, to 9 aldermanic districts. They also made each aldermanic district 1 ward, which creates problems for the county because those wards are too big for supervisory seats. So I've spoken with Max Lindsay and with Andy Phillips at the Counties Association, or he's actually Von Bayes and Roper, but he works for the counties. The solution is that the city's going to have to change their ward sizes. So they will have to break their aldermanic districts into multiple wards. That won't change the lines the city has unless the city so chooses to change that. But they're going to have to put multiple wards in their districts. So everybody understands, and I know this can get confusing to some people. A ward is the smallest voting unit there is. The wards go into making aldermanic districts, supervisory districts, assembly districts, and congressional districts. State Senate districts are made up of 3 assembly districts. So in order to accommodate, and state statutes 5.12b, I believe it is, state that ward creation by municipalities has to facilitate the creation of supervisory districts. So Max is confident that the city will go ahead and make their changes, and then we can redo our supervisory, or we can do our supervisory districts. There may be some tweaks to the borders because of that. But that's what's going to happen. And speaking with Andy Phillips, if the city is not so inclined to do so, and I don't believe that's going to happen, I believe there's a 99.9% chance the city's going to do what we need them to do. If they do not do so, though, for some odd reason, the county board on November 9th can impose different lines.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
The county board, if the city does not comply with creating multiple wards, the county board can impose its own line, its own ward plan on the city. There was a case in 2010 in Kenosha where this exact same issue happened, and the county board there sued them and they won in court. So the case history is we do have the power to impose the ward lines in order to create our districts. So like I said, I'm 99.9% sure the city's going to comply. So they will be having that city council meeting next week on Tuesday. And I believe that's when this issue will come back up there. So the question I got earlier, will there be a redistricting committee meeting? Assuming everything works out well on Tuesday, yes, there will be. I guess there will be in either case, because otherwise we'll be creating our own lines for them on the 26th too. So
Yeah, and we originally had the 26th of October as a redistricting meeting, so,
yeah, so that's going to happen either way.
okay.
Whether or not it's just approving, making the final approvals for from that committee for the board, or whether or not we're making actual changes.
Will the city have to go back to 11 wards?
Nope, the city can stay at 9.
Oh.
No, the city's aldermanic districts. I want to make that clear. Cities have aldermanic districts. They can be 1 ward, they can be 50 wards. Cities have aldermanic districts. So they are going to have to break their aldermanic districts, their 9 that they decided they want to have, into multiple wards. The math looks like it's going to have to be about 20, 21 wards. That's not a big deal. I mean, that happens in other places. And the example I used for Brittany is in Abbotsford, which is a third the size of Ashland. They had 2 wards in an aldermanic district. So it's not unheard of. In fact, it's fairly normal. It's just they're used to doing 1 ward, 1 district here. But, because they lowered their seats, they're going to have to go to multiple wards.
So what you're saying is, let's say they got 9 wards. Some of those people will be in the county supervisor district, a different district. The wards will be split in the county supervisor districts. It'll be split. So some of them will have maybe 2 different wards in,
Somebody
two different county board.
in each aldermanic district, that's correct. And because they decided to go to 9 aldermanic districts, that is inevitable. There was no way we can match the lines. So that's a decision they made, and that's the decision is theirs to make, how many people they have on their city council. And we don't dispute that. And we certainly don't dispute that they have the right to create the lines for their city council. All we dispute is that they have to create all wards to enable us to create supervisory districts. So, like I said, I'm 99.9% confident that everything's going to work out fine. But we'll be taking that up on the 26th. And if any has more detailed questions, please feel free to call me, because I know this stuff can get a little bit confusing.
Along those lines, I've got a call into the state elections committee.
Yeah.
On what transpired with the ward thing here in Ashland. Shady, to say the least. We had an independent committee of 5 people who I have the utmost respect for, who came in and drew up the maps. And they came in with a recommendation to go to 8 wards. And it was the least disruptive of all the recommendations that they made, and it was 5 of them. They completely discounted that, and the city clerk, I guess, was instructed or whatever to draw up some more maps, and I'm investigating that right now to find out who else is involved in that. They came up with a map that, to make a long story short, the administration's been trying to get rid of me for years, and I just won't go away. They tried to beat me at the polls. They've recruited several different Northern College students to run against me, and I just blew them all out of the water. Well, okay, how are we going to get this guy out? So they moved my voters out of my district. So I have a different district now. And, I understand if you're going to downsize, well, things are going to be changed, but of all the, I guess, proposals that they made, 4 out of the 5 take me right out of my district. So I have to apologize to the county board and the city council and the taxpayers in the city of Ashland, because all of this baloney that's going on now is my fault. If I would have said, I'm not going to run again, this never would have happened. And they would have left 11 wards alone. The fact that they're doing this downsizing to save money, in a heartbeat, they decided to go from 8 back to 9. Now, all of a sudden, you're saving less $2,000 less money in wages a year, and you got 9 instead of 11. Well, I'm not buying the saving money angle that they're using. I am going to raise some hell about this. And the fact of the matter is that I wasn't even considering running for city council again, because is to the point where I can't stop any motions, I can't make any motions, I can't pass any motions. I'm ineffective. Because we have a dictatorship going on where puppets are circling the wagons and making all the decisions, and one person's pushing their button, and we all know who that is. So anyway, well, I guess what I'm saying is that the disruption that this is going to cause when the elections come around, where you're going to have different ballots for county, different ballots for the city because of the ward change and all that kind of stuff, it's going to confuse the hell out of the voters. I don't know if the state can do anything about this at this late time, but I will, when smoke clears away, I will let it be known to the public why this disruption occurred. And I hate to be in the middle of this controversy, but I am. And they figured out a way to get rid of me, and guess what? If I stay on the council, I will be running against Jackie Moore. And I'll beat the hell out of her. Thank you.
And has this redistricting by the city, has that been finalized so far?
Pardon me?
Turn on your mic.
Pardon me. Has the 9-member city council been finalized for sure?
It was just voted on a week ago.
So that is final then?
I believe so.
Okay, I seen something about it in the paper, but I kind of didn't.
But the final say on this, and I don't know the mechanics of this. You try to explain it, and I still don't get it. It still has to be approved by the county board.
The number of seats on the city council is up to the city. And yes, the city has finalized their decision on the number of seats. The actual district lines for the city council is up to the city council. The wards, on the other hand, are not totally up to the city. The wards have to be created in a fashion that allows county board supervisor seats to be created. At this point in time, the city's wards do not allow that to happen. So that is going to have to be changed. Like I said, I'm 99.9% sure the city is going to make those changes. But yes, the 9 seats is final. And the lines for those 9 seats is final.
Any more discussion? Now that you have us thoroughly confused, Dan.
Yeah, I know it's not an easy topic.
No, it's not. Now, I don't understand the mechanics of districts and wards. I don't know what that means.
Well, districts are, you as a member of a city council are in an aldermanic district. You as a member of the county board are in a supervisory district. Districts can be made up of one ward or they can be made up of multiple wards. You know, an aldermanic district in the city of Milwaukee is going to have, I don't know, 20, 30 wards in it. An aldermanic district in any other city could have multiple wards in it. You know, like I said, in Abbotsford, there are 2 wards in a lot of districts. In Appleton, there were 4 in my district that I lived in. The award is different from a seat, the actual seat that somebody's elected to. Award is merely a way of grouping voters together into smaller units. Those wards are then used to create aldermanic districts, supervisory districts, assembly districts, and congressional districts. The reality is, you know, the city can change the wards to reflect our needs. That doesn't mean the state's not going to change them again to reflect their needs, or for both the state legislature and for congressional redistricting. They can certainly do that if they wanted to. I don't know if they will because they have the way of our geography, but those ward lines are literally just the smallest unit. And every district at every level of government can have multiple ones of them in it. Wards don't really follow the one man, one vote principle. The example I've been given is you could have a multi-family housing complex that has 800 people in it or 900 people in it. You would want to keep that ward together, those people together in a ward, because they all share the one common issue, the one common thing is they're in the same complex. But then you could have then you could have a multifamily community or a single family community that has 300 people in it. You know, and that those two wards could then go into making a aldermanic district and a supervisory district and an assembly district. Meanwhile, the next district over could have 3 wards of 400, 400, 400, or 500, 500, and 500, whatever the math is. And so the wards are completely different sizes, but the districts themselves are equal in size, and that's what matters. The representation of that district is fairly equal. That's the important thing. There's no one man, one vote principle on wards, only districts. And districts are what people get elected to, not wards. It just happens that Ashland has always had a history of one ward, one district. And that suited the county fine when they had 11 members, because then the numbers worked out. But now they don't. Now they have 9. And so there's going to have to be multiple wards in their aldermanic districts. Just like some of the supervisory districts might have multiple wards in them too. I don't know if that explains it better or not.
So basically what you're saying is the wards for the supervisors districts can be split.
The wards can't be split. You would just put multiple wards in the district.
Yeah, but but for the supervisor, you could be in only part of a ward.
No, and I'm just making up numbers here now to illustrate stuff. But let's just use Aldermanic District 1. It could have wards 1, 2, and 3 in it. Okay. Whereas Supervisory District 5, we'll say, could have just wards 1 and 2 in it. And 3 could be in Supervisory District 6. That's how that would work. And then Supervisory District could then have 2 wards in Aldermanic District 2. And so on. So the ward is just the smallest breakup of a population unit. And it could be in multiple, you could have different wards in different districts for different offices. It's like say they could all just share one ward and then have multiple wards in different. So yes, it is going to, what Chairman Pufall was saying, how it's going to confuse voters. Yes, it is. It's definitely going to confuse voters. And it's going to take them time to get used to this.
Mike.
As a point of clarification here, this has gone through a committee here, and we submitted this out to the townships.
Yep.
And we're currently receiving these back in from townships so that we can, the county board itself can take final action, or was it November 9th?
November 9th, yeah.
So.
And I want to point out, we don't have a choice but to act by November 9th.
Yes. So, things are still currently happening from the townships back to, who's it, the county clerk or whoever's tabulating.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that most townships at this point in time have had their meeting. As a matter of fact, Town of Sanborn had their meeting last Monday night.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to be bringing it up tonight. I talked to one of the supervisors just this morning on my way in, and he says they're having a budget meeting tonight here at the Town of Sanborn. So they're going to kind of give me, but it doesn't sound fair because they're confused.
Yeah, it's a confusing process.
They're confused, especially with the split of Madeline Island no longer being part of, Yeah, and I'm being asked the question, well, does that mean the town of Sandra is going to have like 3 districts now? No. I says, the town of Sandra still only has 2 districts, 12 and 13.
Right,
Just that the Madeline Island is no longer part of 13 as
Correct.
it has at the present time. The future, it will not be part of 13. So, there'll still only be 2 districts out there. So I'll have a chore tonight to try to explain that. So, all right, thank you.
Didn't we just switch them around, Mike, so that the island would become part of 12?
yeah, the island will be in a district that represents Ashland. It'll be part of one of the Ashland districts.
Pardon me?
It'll be part of one of the Ashland districts.
I think it's District 11.
Yeah. District
I thought it
11.
got moved to 1 unless you guys moved it again.
No, it was always at 11. And the reason for that is to ensure that we protect that we comply with the Voting Rights Act, so that we protect the majority minority districts and allow those 2 districts to have a greater say than they currently have.
Now, on the agenda here, it said redistricting final review, and yet we don't have any maps. So-
No, we don't. And that's because when we sent the agenda out, events happened in between. So we don't have the opportunity to give you final maps because right now we have to wait and see what Ashland does on Tuesday.
Yeah, the only thing I've done for redistricting item number 10 is we've had a discussion and there's no handouts.
Yeah.
That's my only comment. I always make comments on my agenda. So
Uh-huh.
that if I make reference back to it at some future date and stuff like that, I can it's kind of like a total recall type kind of
Right.
thing. Just a little, mind jog type. But yeah, that's all we're doing is just discussing this. And most of the discussion at this point in time has been city.
Yeah.
And not, in our contents or in our,
Correct.
what we got, area of the world here in Ashland County. The southern part of the Ashland County is pretty much pacified. They're happy down there, or it appears
Yes.
so. It's just up here in the city of Ashland or the districts and the lines are, and things are being drawn. As a matter of fact, it's been brought to my attention by Todd Kraft, supervisor at town of Sandra this morning, was that why are we going, why is District 12 going over into town of Jingles? Because someone with the evident wisdom and the numbers 763, the number of constituents and stuff like that, that's where it puts the line.
Yeah.
And of course, that's where the census and stuff like that, when they draw the lines and all this kind of stuff, that's where it goes. So
Right.
I says, whoa, that's what it is.
Right.
I had no involvement or drawn those lines at all whatsoever.
Right. And to be honest, the town of Jingles has more in common with the town of Sanborn than Madeline Island does with the town of Sanborn.
So, yeah, like I say, I'll be up in front and center with the township tonight, I'm sure, and I'll cover myself. But at this point, Todd had indicated that, gee, I'm not sure if we want to pass this thing. It's what it is, I says. So
Yeah.
we'll cover it tonight. So thank you.
The last maps, Dan, that I saw from Brittany showed, I guess there was a little bit of confusion on 12 and 13. Those are the 2 reservation districts.
Yeah.
Whereas 13 is farther south. Is that yours or?
No, 13, the new 13 will come all the way from Birch Hill, both north and south side of US Highway to the casino, Maple Lane, Maple Street. That's as far as 13 will
That's
come.
13.
That'll be 13. 12 will come from there onto the city of Ashland over here into the town of Jingles. To make up the
Well,
number
what
of,
I was going to say is the last map that I saw incorporated the island with 12.
With 11.
Pardon?
11.
With 11.
11?
11.
Yeah. Yeah, the one I showed you last week was 11. And the one that's on the county website is 11.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, if after the meeting, I can show it to you again if you like.
Well, this is,
Well,
Say
actually, I
say
can,
it's a little bit confusing is.
actually, I can
the,
pull it up on the screen right
It's an
here.
understatement. Absolutely.
oh,
Absolutely.
I can pull it up on the screen right here if you like. Exit.
Now, I don't want to bring up a can of worms. It's just that I'm trying to satisfy the constituents out there at the town of Sandburg, because we have two representatives out there. I've not been able to talk to Dylan Jennings, who's the representative for District 12. At any rate, I'm not sure if he's going to run. And of course, this is we need to get past this district thing. And town of Sandburg, and here we go. I blew that map up so many times just to find out where that street was. And that's Maple Street right there.
Here's District 11 in red. District 11 is in red. And if you look, the island is District 11 also. No, it's part of 11.
They want to be their own district. Oh, yeah. They only
Right.
have like a little over 350 some
200, yeah.
people.
So see, they're part of this right here.
Right.
Whereas, yes, District 12 does go down into Jingles a little bit. And that really is because that's in order to keep 12 and 13 together. And again, to protect the vote. That's why it's like that.
Yeah. Well, Tom Jingles does not oppose that. As a matter of fact, Rick Corpla reiterated that himself. He has no problem with,
But
Tom
the-
Sandburg and,
Right,
Town of Jingles combining that district.
right. What their problem is right here with part of White River being in it. They're afraid that somebody they could end up with no representative on the county board because somebody from White River gets elected to their seat.
Mhm.
Did you get that back up on, just to show the island?
Yep. Okay. So here's 11 right here. And then I go up to the island. And it's right here in red also. And it says Supervisor 11 right there.
Okay, now. Regular 11.
Go down.
Can you guys turn on your mics?
Sorry, Dick is over staring at a TV up close, so he's not access to mic.
Gotcha.
Do you want me to bring it up closer?
When was this concoction come about?
This is what was in front of the county board at beginning of October,
I've never seen.
or maybe it was September when the county board approved it. Yeah, this is the plan that we sent to the municipalities. The tentative plan.
Pardon me?
This is the tentative plan that we sent to the municipalities. Yeah, I can zoom in closer. And I can move over a little bit.
So your district.
Really do this so that it matches up with the city?
No, again, this map was done before the city did their map. The city did take a large part of the lines we had to make their districts. But because they have more people and there are some line differences.
Well, we're gonna have to sit down and one-on-one and you can get the crayons out and explain this to me.
Yes, sir.
Boy, I didn't mean to open up a can of worms here with the town of Sandburg and the two districts there. But there was a concern with regards to, what's happening in Madeline Island.
I know.
And I told Todd Kraft this morning, he says, oh, that's not even in the picture now. That's District 11. That's someplace else. We don't even deal with those guys. He says, really? I said, did you take a look at the map we sent you guys? He says, I'm gonna have to get that out.
Well, when you get maps from Brittany,
Yeah, we'll be, after this, we'll be working on new maps, yes.
so.
We'll have to
this-
create new word lines.
This
and
final review doesn't really,
It's not a
hold
final
water.
review. No, it's not a final.
okay, I'm gonna take the word final off of my sheet then.
Yeah, there'll be a redistricting committee meeting
Death
on the
and taxes
26th.
are final.
So the districting is going to be the 26th? did,
Correct.
Gary say?
Yes, and I'm not sure we'll have better maps by then either.
So, okay,
So we might end up actually having to have a executive committee between now and the 9th.
so then, on the redistricting, we have the county board has a redistricting committee.
Yeah, and that's meeting on the 26th.
And I think the last two district meetings we've had, I think I sat over there and
Mhm.
Matt McKenzie sat next to me and he had numerous questions,
Mhm.
if I recall. And I guess as a board member, I can come to these meetings, you know, even though I'm not on the committee.
Yes, you can.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more discussion on the non-final review
Yeah,
of
Eh,
redistricting?
and actually what I would like to do with the meeting on the 26th is we may have to postpone that meeting until we can get an agreement with the city on word lines. And then create new maps. Well, I know, and that's part of the problem is that we might have to decide word lines ourselves and move forward. So the 26th is a tentative date. Let's just state that. And members of that committee will be notified as soon as we have maps, and we'll give, if the members of the committee are okay, we'll just give 48 hours notice. And of course, the entire board will be noticed too. But we're on a tight time constraint, so there may not be time for mail. Just reminding you.
The November 9th date is creeping up on us very quickly.
It is. That's why if the city's dragging their feet or something, we may have to create the lines ourselves and impose them.
Would or could there be a possibility of the Ashland County, what do you call it, pushing this or tabling this for another 2 years?
No,
No, that's not an option.
no, state statutes require that it gets done when, at the latest, pretty much November 9th.
Well, the state statutes is a state
Well-
statutes of what it is. However, because of the census and because of the COVID, we're behind the 8 ball now.
The state legislature already took this issue up and they decided maps for local elections will go for as planned. Now, will they change it for November elections? They may well say, well, we're just going to postpone this 2 years. But for local elections, it has to be done next month because the type A notice has to be published in December. You know, signatures as you start collecting in December. So they say new maps are going in place then.
Wow, that's what it is.
When we were down to the WCA conference, I sat in on the redistricting meeting that they had with
Mhm.
people who are in charge of this. And I asked them point blank, I said, if you have wards that are not balanced population wise, is it mandatory that you change all these wards?
No,
It's recommended.
yeah.
It's
well,
not mandatory.
No, wards in a class 4 city, which is what Ashland is, can be between 300 and 1,000 people. So technically under the definition of a ward for a class 4 city, the city of Ashland is in compliance with that. However, what they're not in compliance with is the ability for us to create supervisory districts because the gap would be way too great. Our seats only have 762 people on them. And there's a variance of plus or minus 10%. We can't fit their wards. We'd be out of compliance. And so they have to change because part of the requirements, and anybody's interested, I can send you the part of the Wisconsin statutes. They have to create wards where we can make supervisory districts. So that's why they need to break up their current 9 wards into like about 21. Yeah, I have a meeting on tomorrow, I guess it is. A Zoom meeting with the counties association on specifically redistricting, where they're going to talk about problems and questions. If members of this board would like to sit in on that meeting, I can put it on in the room here, and that way everybody can see and hear. So I believe it's at 1 o'clock, but I can, if you're interested, just give me a call later today and I'll give you that exact time. And then you can listen to what's going on. And if we want to ask questions, we can do so.
When is that?
I believe it's at 1 o'clock. I
Today?
can tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. But I can give you the exact time after this meeting.
That's redistricting?
Yeah.
I might wanna burn some rear ends on that meeting.
Yeah, if anybody else wants to come in, like I said, I'll put it on the TV here, the Zoom meeting. That way there's volume here for everybody to hear.
Dick, you're going to be in Hayward tomorrow morning?
Pardon?
Are you going to be in Hayward tomorrow morning?
For what?
Highway meeting tomorrow morning at
For what?
9 o'clock. There's a highway meeting at Hayward at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Highway meeting?
Yeah, yeah. Didn't you say you were going?
The highway committee met in Highbridge on Monday.
Yes, but we have a meeting in Hayward
Is
tomorrow.
this Northwestern Regional?
It's a Big 10.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I thought Dick was going. I'm going, but I just worried you couldn't be in 2 places at once.
I probably ignored it. I don't know. I don't even remember what it was for.
It's a Big 10. It's a Big 10 Highway Commissioners Association meeting.
Matt's going to be
Okay,
there.
I'm none of the above. Why are we
Matt
there?
will be attending that meeting. Matt Erickson,
Matt and I.
who will be there.
Yeah. You don't have to go, but I thought you said you were going, but that's fine.
9 o'clock tomorrow?
9:30 at the Veteran Center.
And it's at the vet center, right?
Yep.
Okay, I remember that part of it.
Okay.
All right, any more discussion on the redistricting, or have you guys had enough? Okay, we'll move right along to number 11, resolution opposing Assembly Bill 605. Now, Dan,
Dick,
can you
Dick?
give us a synopsis?
Could- I'm assuming everyone's read this material. I'd be in favor of making a motion to oppose Assembly Bill 605.
This is Marty Vitek. I'll second it.
All right, now, discussion. Can you give us a synopsis on why we're?
Yeah, I'll
opposed?
give you a quick synopsis. This bill was introduced a couple weeks ago. It's already had a committee hearing, and it's going to hit the assembly floor next week, I believe. What it does is it instructs the department administration to withhold 10% of the ARPA funding for every county and municipality. And that money has to be used to do affordable housing or workforce housing. It's telling us that we can't spend the money on what we want. And so the counties association opposes it, and the League of Wisconsin Municipality opposes it. It's just a money grab from the state.
All right, well, that was good enough for me. Any questions on that, you guys? I don't think I'm going to read this bill. I'll probably doze off in the middle of it. You've all read this application? The resolution? Did you want me to read the resolution, or
No, I'd ask for a voice vote.
you guys have all read the resolution? You know what you're voting on? And we have a motion to. Gary, you made a motion
Marty seconded it.
and your motion was,
To oppose Assembly Bill 605.
In favor of the resolution.
and Marty seconded it? All right, we have a motion and a second on the table to oppose Assembly Bill 605. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone in opposition saying no? It unanimous, thank you. Okay, Badger bounce back, number 12.
This is just a bunch of grant opportunities that are available in the state. We brought it to Finance Committee for information, and we're bringing it here as for information for the committee. I did forward this off to Ashland Area Economic Development and to the Chamber, because there's a number of what grants they can apply for. So we're just providing information for you.
Along those lines, I've successfully contacted 2 businesses in Ashland who are doing this. Both of them took advantage of it. And I think it's a great program. I just hope it's not somebody that's just going to open up a business for a month to take the money and walk away. But normally you have a rent agreement or whatever for a period of time. You can't do that. I think it's a good program. And this is informational only. You guys have about as much information that you need right now?
Well, the idea is if you know businesses out there, you can help direct them to this.
Well, and just a point of information, we all are on the Highway Committee, and we talked about this on Monday at the Highway Committee too, so.
Now, this came to my attention here a couple of weeks ago through the CEO out here at Bad River and stuff like that. And after taking a look at it, I appreciate us taking a look at it here at the county board and making it available to some of our, what do you call it, people, our managers, to where, as a matter of fact, I sat down with Carver himself, and there's opportunity here. It is. And whenever we can take advantage of an opportunity, whether it be through the governor or wherever, it's good to share that, it's positive information. It's good stuff. And I thank you for pushing this forward. Thank you.
Marty.
I think what Mike was talking about is a good idea. The more this information is disseminated around, the more ideas you get, and I think that in the future, we should let this stuff be known. Yeah.
Yeah, and in the future, when the opportunities are sent over, I'll put them in packets just so everybody knows they're there. And of course, as a county, we'll apply for the ones we can.
Mike, I got a question for you.
Sure.
You haven't ever finished the snowmobile trail from Ashland to Bad River, have you, or is it done? I know there was a bridge problem and.
Well, there's a bridge issue, that's an ongoing thing, being on the tribal council here just recently. And I'm pretty much up to speed with that. At any rate, we do have a grant. We did get a grant from the state, and we did spend that. And that was to take it from the casino over to the Bad River portion of it. And right now, the tribe is looking for resources to get across Bad River, because that's being such a span where the old railroad, corridor used to be. So in most of that application, the tribe looks to utilize that same corridor, the old railroad corridor. So much like anything with government, it's a slow go.
It's been going on for an awful long
Oh,
time.
this has got to be 20 years. Well, at least, like they got it from Birchill to the casino at the present time, but to open this up to the Tri-County Corridor over here in Ashland here, this would be a win-win for everyone.
Yeah.
It really would be.
Yeah.
And boy, that would just be phenomenal.
Well, the reason I'm asking you about this is because this is a perfect example of Badger bounce back money. And of course, that's not nearly enough to build a bridge across the Bad River,
No.
but it's a drop in the bucket. It'll get something started. And boy, that's a big economic development tool.
If you
You have
could take
access
that,
to that.
if you could take that to the next level, and the thing about this bounce back thing, most of the grants that's being applied for, or the deadline dates here is November 5th and November 9th. So it's a short turnaround time. So, it's whatever you got sitting on a shelf, it's shelf ready. Let's use that phrase because, it's out there. And I don't believe the Badger Tribe at this point in time has anything shelf ready to take it to the next step. As a matter of fact, I don't, last I talked to was Natural Resources at the Badger Tribe there. And their plate is pretty full at Enbridge and what went on with the council meeting last night, but we need more people in Natural Resources to do what needs to be done to, bring that corridor up to date so that we can have something shelf ready for anything that might come down the pike.
Now, I got another
guess that's
question
putting
for
it
you,
short and sweet.
Mike.
Huh?
Is the railroad bridge completely gone or does it have to be
Oh,
rebuilt?
no, that bridge is, it used to be called the old Black Bridge. It used to be old iron type kind of thing. It's gone.
Gone.
There's nothing there.
Oh,
And we were trying to salvage the abutments. And one of the engineering people we had, that's not possible. We need to go with all new abutment, everything new coming across Bad River there. So that's going to be a pretty healthy a bill, change a couple $1 million. That's,
oh,
yeah. So, yeah, we got the support from the local snowmobile club and the alliances and, what head chambers and stuff like that, but it's the money. It's the money.
no.
But much like I says, the gears in government turn slow and for the Bad River Tribe, that is not very high on a priority. And I wish that. they
That's
would-
crazy.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a lot of money sitting there.
Oh, well, like I say, that's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah.
Tie this Tri-County Corridor together with over here in Michigan. Wow.
Mhm.
I couldn't, begin to tell you how many cars and trucks that go by every winter up to the UP when they could be having those units right on the ground driving as opposed to riding. But yeah, heck, over the last 10 years, and I live right on US too. I know.
Yeah.
See them all the time. Heck, these guys are caravanning. It's not uncommon to have 3 to 6 different truck and trailer combinations heading to Michigan.
Mhm.
And then on Sunday afternoon, heading back to Minnesota, heading back home.
Yeah.
That's revenue that's just going right by our front doorsteps. Absolutely.
Yeah, and with the business they have there, they certainly could use it.
When Mike was talking about, the same thing goes through, those caravans go through Mellon, going up to the UP as well. So there is a lot of potential there.
Oh, yeah. Anything else on the Badger bounce back? If not, we'll go to administrator updates. Do we have anything to update us on?
I don't think we have anything. We covered a lot.
And just don't say redistricting or I'll shoot you.
That word is banned for today.
Okay. No updates. Next meeting date.
Can we leave that up in the air, given the word that's banned is still an issue?
Pardon?
Can we leave that up in the
Sure.
air because we have to
Sure.
deal with the city?
Sure. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
No, I got a question. For the annual meeting in November, is this redistricting plan going to be final?
Yes, it has to be final.
It has to be final. So
Yep.
you're going to have a redistricting meeting the 26th of October
Tentatively.
tentatively. But we're not going to have another meeting before this, are we?
If we have time, we're going to.
Okay.
It's
Okay, Guy, I guess I wanted to know what's the final?
November 9th is the final.
Okay.
It's either we would cut a deal with the city to make it appropriate wards, or we impose wards on them.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn by Bill Metzinger. Do we have a second? Second by Mike Berlin. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.